This is the Jackson Neill Sports Podcast. Welcome back. I'm your host, Jackson Neill, here on Monday, June 24th, 2019. Today I'm going to be doing a deep dive into Kawhi Leonard and why he should stay with the Toronto Raptors. But first, I just want to remind everyone that this podcast is available on all of your favorite platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and SoundCloud. It is also available on jacksonneillpodcasts.com, the home for all of the podcasts I publish. So today, we're about 1 week or so from the NBA offseason, officially in free agency really kicking off. That's when guys can finally make their contracts official and everything will really be getting going, and we'll finally understand and know where these guys are heading. Until then, though, plenty of time to speculate, and today I want to touch on Kawhi Leonard because I think he is the biggest question mark in this offseason as of right now. You know, there's definitely some questions surrounding the draft in terms of some orders and some trades, maybe how people would do that, or whether it was Anthony Davis and his trade, that got solved. But as of right now, it's got to be either between Kawhi Leonard, defending champion finals MVP, looking like the best player in the world, his decision, or Kevin Durant and his decision. I'll touch on Kevin Durant probably later this week at some point. But today I want to go on and talk about Kawhi Leonard because in my mind, he is, and I think everybody agrees with this, arguably the biggest domino to fall in the NBA because, yes, Kevin Durant is an amazing player, arguably the best in the league. The whole him being out for a year, it won't impact the league next year, per se. Not like Kawhi Leonard's decision will. And a little background, so Kawhi Leonard, if you didn't know, just won the NBA title with the Toronto Raptors, and during this title run, it was a really kind of fun thing for everybody. He became, the king of the North. Everybody in Canada reveres him for bringing the first championship to the Raptors franchise, and he's just kind of become this face of that franchise. And even though the fans love him, they totally would understand if he left. It's just a great situation for him right there in Toronto, whether he wants to leave or he wants to stay. And while he's expected to probably leave Toronto, although I'm hearing reports now that maybe he's leaning more towards it, basically at this point in the NBA offseason, you're going to be hearing rumors about leaning every single which way for every single player. It's going to change by the day whether or not that player is actually changing his mind. I highly doubt Kawhi Leonard especially is really letting anybody into his head in terms of his free agent decision. If anybody's definitely keeping that to himself, I think it's Kawhi. So in terms of all these rumors about speculating, there's more of a chance he goes to Toronto today than yesterday, I don't really buy into that. But what I can buy into is where I think he should go, and where I think he would fit best and have the best chance at winning. And when I view all of that, and when I look around the NBA at the possible destinations, I have to say that the Toronto Raptors are the best scenario for Kawhi Leonard if he wants to go out and continue to win NBA championships. Now, I think an important distinction to make right here is that I don't think this just because the Raptors won this past year. I think it was a very good team this past year, but there were fluky things. I mean, I don't know if you can count on Fred VanVleet to be that much of a contributor every single postseason. I think Kyle Lowry, I think he had an amazing postseason run, but it's not that hard to see that his best days are behind him. Same with Marc Gasol. Now, a player like Pascal Siakam, on the other hand, he's still for sure the NBA's most improved player, but definitely has room to continue to grow and elevate his game to another level. So there's some bright spots, some declining spots, but I think overall the Raptors roster, outside of Siakam, it probably won't be much better, and it's probably mostly on the decline in terms of going forward. However, when you look around the NBA, I think star players like Kawhi Leonard, you have to take into consideration what the rest of the league is looking like. Where are other people going throughout the NBA, and where would give him the best chance to win? And this kind of starts off by me saying I think he should be in the Eastern Conference, and then I'm starting to hear this narrative go around that this power imbalance we've had of the Western Conference over the Eastern Conference, that's diminishing, that the Eastern Conference is catching up. And when you look around, I don't see how that is at all true. Yes, it's possible that Kevin Durant may go to the Brooklyn Nets or the New York Knicks maybe, and that'll definitely bring another great player to the Eastern Conference. But on the whole, the talent is still among the Western Conference. These are the playoff teams from the Western Conference last year. Golden State Warriors, Denver Nuggets, Portland Trailblazers, Houston Rockets, Utah Jazz, Oklahoma City Thunder, San Antonio Spurs, LA Clippers. Those are the 8 teams. Going into next year, I think they all 8 of those teams have a very good shot at making the playoffs. But here's the thing, is teams that missed it this year, namely the Los Angeles Lakers and also the Sacramento Kings, are 2 teams that the Lakers, by getting more star power, obviously are going to be contending not only for that playoff spot, but a high playoff seed. The Sacramento Kings, another year under their belt, another year growing and developing as a team. I think they're going to really be competing for a playoff spot and get a lot closer than just finishing 9 games out of 8th. So you look around, those teams are on the rock. I see 10 legitimate teams that can make the playoffs and be good in the playoffs. That's not even accounting for a team like the New Orleans Pelicans, who, with all of their assets yet right now, yes, I'm on the record of saying I don't think they'll be a contending team right now, but they're not going to be a bad team. I mean, all the young guys they have, Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, the draft picks they add, they're not going to be amazing, but they're not going to be bad. If they were in the Eastern Conference, I think you could talk about a playoff spot. I don't think it's possible in the West, but the Eastern Conference especially. Even a team like the Dallas Mavericks, Doncic and Porzingis together for a full year, that's going to be a great pairing. I don't understand this narrative that the Eastern Conference is catching up to the West. I don't see it. Then when you look at the Eastern Conference, not only is it not catching up to the West, the top of it is getting worse. The Toronto Raptors, they finished second in the standings, but they obviously went on and they won the Eastern Conference in the playoffs. It was looked at as a big 4 this year, with the Raptors, the Bucks, the 76ers, and the Celtics. The Celtics, complete implosion. Now, it might be an addition by subtraction by getting rid of Kyrie Irving, but still, that's a superstar, that's an all-star player you're getting rid of off that team. I don't know how good the Celtics will be next year. I think they can add maybe a player like Malcolm Brogdon in free agency, and that'd be a good fit for the team, but still, if the Raptors have Kawhi Leonard and Pascal Siakam, the Celtics won't be on that level. Look at the 76ers, a team that the Raptors beat. The 76ers are only getting worse. They're not getting better. Yes, they have this core of Simmons and Embiid, but Butler, he looks like he's gone. Tobias Harris, I don't know if he's staying. Definitely they won't keep both of them. So the 76ers had this core of these 4, people consider them all-star level players. I'm not that high on Ben Simmons, but these 4 all-star level players added with some players like, JJ Redick, they're getting worse. I don't know if JJ's coming back. I don't know if either Butler or Harris is coming back. Definitely not both, and maybe neither. So that's a team that's only going to get worse. And the argument that Simmons and Embiid are still developing, I love Embiid's game, but his inconsistencies. I mean, he dominated that one of the games in the Raptors series, yes, but the rest of the series, where was he? Ben Simmons is a guard he can play so well in transition, but the thing that people aren't saying is that the NBA playoffs aren't a transition game. The regular season, you can run up and down the floor. NBA teams don't really even start playing defense until December, Christmas Day. And throughout the regular season, you can run up and down the floor. But once the playoffs start and those defenses tighten up, it becomes a half-court game. And when you're billing yourself as a point guard and you can't shoot, there's a problem there. You're not going to be effective. And then a player like J.J. Redick, one of their shooters, he could be gone. I don't see... The 76ers are going to get worse. They're not getting better. And Raptors already beat them in this playoffs. Whether you consider that a lucky shot or not, the Raptors won that series, and the Sixers are getting worse. Then you look at the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that, yes, is spearheaded by Giannis, and I think we can all agree that Giannis is still on this incredible incline, and he's getting better still, even as one of the best players in the league. He's a guy that kind of adds something new to his game. If he can, he started to develop this outside shot throughout the course of this season, and that was making him basically unguardable. He is amazing. He is arguably, when he is performing, he can be the best player in the NBA. I don't think people refute that. But I think that people also will agree with the fact that the Bucks don't have a great supporting cast. They have some solid players here or there, but even a player like Malcolm Brogdon, he could end up leaving the Bucks this offseason. So the Bucks, at best, I think they're going to stay the same, and staying the same was not good enough to beat the Raptors. So I know I went through all these teams, but I'm looking at the Raptors next year, and if they add Kawhi, if they keep Kawhi, I mean, they're definitely the favorite in the Eastern Conference, and I'm having a hard-pressed time of thinking who I'd pick over them in the finals. I mean, they would definitely be in the top 3 in terms of the odds for championship contenders next year. So why wouldn't he stay? And I understand the appeal of playing in Los Angeles. I understand that. But I think you only need to look as far as LeBron James to see how dumb of a decision that is when you let the choice of city determine where you should play as a basketball player. Because yes, that's important, but at the end of the day, these guys are making tens of millions of dollars. Kawhi Leonard can afford to have a multi-million-dollar mansion in both Toronto and LA, and just live in LA in the offseason. I mean, during the season, you're constantly flying back and forth. Does it really matter where you live anyways? And then LeBron went down there for all these other reasons, and look, basketball imploded. Yes, LeBron is setting up his post-basketball career. He's great, but I don't think you need me to tell you that LeBron doesn't really have to worry financially, and that if he maybe took a year or two to get this TV stuff rolling once he's retired, it really wouldn't have hurt him, but that he shouldn't waste his basketball years trying to make TV deals, and that he basically just wasted a year of his career at this point with the Lakers. And I would view Kawhi Leonard going to the Clippers as, okay, you're going to go to a team, yes, the Clippers were impressive in this playoffs, taking the Warriors to 6. This group of players around in that organization I really like. I love what they got for Tobias Harris, especially in a player like Landry Shamet, able to make some outside shots. But it's not all there. I mean, he could be in Toronto. He has a fellow star to pair with, Pascal Siakam. I mean, Pascal Siakam's a rising star. I think it's not that bold to say that I think Pascal Siakam is an all-star caliber player at this point. Now, I've only seen it for one season, granted, but I don't think this was just a flash in the pan. I think Pascal Siakam has developed into this kind of player, and that we're going to just see him continually improve his game. So you could stay in Toronto, where it's the easier conference. 2, you're paired up with a really good player right now. And 3, and I think this is most important, and sometimes these players don't understand how important this is. Cough, cough, look again at LeBron James. Great ownership and general managing in Toronto. Masai Ujiri he is the best. In terms of being GM of a basketball NBA franchise, no one is better than him right now. I mean, what's going down in New Orleans? I mean, maybe you have to look down there at David Griffin, but as of right now, the Toronto Raptors and what Masai Ujiri has done for them is incredible. I mean, he took this team. I mean, I know you make a big deal out of, they had no lottery picks on the roster. A little bit misleading considering they traded DeMar DeRozan, a lottery pick, for Kawhi Leonard. But still, he's been able to craft this great roster. I would bet that of any GM I could go to, of any team, I think Masai Ujiri is the guy that could definitely put me in the right chance to succeed. That, okay, yes, there are, like I said, Kyle Lowry, Marc Gasol, these are guys with the best days of their career behind them. But if somebody could wheel and deal, find some more bench players, find some more complementary players, or develop them, I think it's Masai Ujiri. And I think you could stay with this franchise where you just won a title. I mean, it's nice to be beloved by fans. I mean, it's not a necessity, I think, especially for a player like Kawhi Leonard, but it's certainly nice. And it's also the best basketball situation. Now, I will say that there is some outside chances with the Clippers. I mean, they have so much cap space as of right now, where if they could possibly pair Kawhi with a star, that would be possible, and that would be appealing. But unless you're talking they're going to pair him with Klay Thompson, if I was Kawhi, I'd rather stick playing with Pascal Siakam than a player like Kyrie Irving, let's just say. And Irving's obviously not, when we haven't heard anything about it with him and the Clippers, and I think he's looks like he's going to a New York team. But unless the Clippers were really able to pair him with another star, like another superstar, I think like Klay Thompson, I think the conversation would shift a little bit. But until they prove that they can do that, he could stay where he is, where he just won a championship, be in prime position to win another one, because he's in a lesser conference, he has a solid supporting cast, and great ownership and managing to get him possibly even more good players. I don't see why he would want to leave if it's purely a basketball situation. And that's what Kawhi Leonard always talks about, how for him everything is purely about basketball. If you're looking purely basketball, the Toronto Raptors are the decision for Kawhi Leonard, and that's the best place for him to stay and for him to continue to make his career. And a quick side note is that I don't think he's going to sign a 1-and-1 deal. I think that following these playoffs, where we've seen Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson go down with these injuries, I look at NBA right now, and LeBron kind of made it popular with this whole 1-and-1, sign for 1 year and then have a player option after that so you can constantly hit free agency and keep the organization accountable. I always like those deals, but one thing they don't give you is security. I think Kawhi Leonard, we're going to start to see this shift in the NBA. I mean, LeBron was definitely first with his deal with the Lakers, but especially following these KD and Klay Thompson injuries, we're going to start to see these guys sign for more than just these 1-and-1s, because at the end of the day, it's nice to get some security. I mean, Klay Thompson, because he's a shoot first kind of player, catch and shoot, I don't think that ACL is going to bother him that much in terms of how much money he'll receive. And in terms of Kevin Durant, I mean, he is arguably one of the 20 greatest players of all time. So I don't think a torn Achilles is going to really bother him too much. But he's a rarity. Even among superstars, he's a rarity. So wherever Kawhi goes and wherever any of these superstars go, I think that's another point I want to make real quick, is that I think these are going to be some longer-term deals. I think players are starting to want some more security and some more, comfortability that if they get injured, they're not hitting free agency next year, that they're still under contract for several more years in a max contract kind of situation. And that'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening to the Jackson Neill Sports Podcast. Make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast on all of your favorite platforms, as that does a lot to help grow the show. Remember, new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. For more episodes, go down to the show notes and visit the link to JacksonNeillPodcasts.com. There, you'll find all of the episodes to this sports podcast, as well as the Jackson Neill Music Podcast and my interview series, Anything Goes with Jackson Neill. New episodes of the Music Podcast on Sundays, with Anything Goes coming on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you're a big fan of the show, maybe consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. For just a couple dollars a month, you can get access to bonus segments from both my sports and music podcasts, as well as bonus content from my interviews on Anything Goes. I write, record, and produce these podcasts myself as a full-time college student, so trust me, any little bit of support really does go a long way. Link to Patreon down in the show notes. If you want to stay up to date on everything I'm doing, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter @JacksonNeil20. Today's music is by Analog by Nature with their song CDK Sunday. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you all next time.